All right, so we are talking about the pooch belly, and you brought up gut inflammation in the intro. You talked about how important that was. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about gut inflammation and what we can do to alleviate that or eliminate that.
Sure. So gut inflammation isn't always as easy to reduce as it seems because it can be caused by a lot of different sources. Stress is a cause of GI inflammation, as well as alcohol, medical drugs, food additives, preservatives, colorings. There's a lot of things that can inflame the gut. A lot of people nowadays are finding that they don't tolerate gluten or pasteurized dairy, so those are things that can also inflame the gut. So before we try to activate the core muscles, we need to bring the inflammation down so that the brain can have a clear signal with the muscles and it can activate when need be.
Now, I'm glad you said that, so let's cover that for a second. Why or how does inflammation in the gut impact my ability to activate my muscles, or why is that important?
So organs and muscles, they share the same innervation. And so if an organ is inflamed, like let's say your colon is inflamed because you have chronic constipation or you've got maybe some sort of irritable bowel disease, that is going to shut down the surrounding musculature by sending a signal to the brain saying, hey, there's a problem here, there's pain, there's inflammation. The last thing you want to do when something is inflamed is to work it out and exercise it, because that's going to create further inflammation.
Wow, so this is pretty cool. Most people aren't even familiar with this. So if I've got gut inflammation, it's sending a signal to my brain telling my muscles that are in the gut or around the gut or that support the gut to not basically be active, to not activate, to be asleep. So it would be impossible to tighten those muscles up with inflammation. They're just not going to activate. Is this why gut inflammation can contribute to things like back pain?
Oh, absolutely. And it's also, it's exhibited with women who experience back pain during their period. The uterus is inflamed, it's going through an incredible process at that time. Or some people might have experienced, if they've had constipation, that will refer pain into their back as well. So these would be examples of how that works.
Very, very interesting. So what are some common, inflammatory, you listed a bunch, like, stress is a big one, some medications, but let's talk about foods for a second. Now, obviously, I'm assuming that it's going to be quite individual, right? What might be inflammatory for one person might not be for another person. But what are some general areas that people can look at when it comes to nutrition to try and find maybe foods that may be inflammatory for them? What are the common, the common culprits?
Common culprits?
Yeah.
So the common culprits are wheat. But you find that people who are sensitive to gluten are typically sensitive to all grains. So if you're going to cut gluten out, you might as well just cut grains out of the diet as well. Dairy products are also incredibly difficult for a lot of people to digest. So you've got grains, you've got dairy, soy. If it is not organic or fermented, because most of it is genetically modified, can also inflame the gut. Corn, which falls into the category of grains, it's not a vegetable, even though some people think it is, that people are finding that they have a lot of trouble digesting corn nowadays, again, because it's really pretty much impossible to get organic corn. There's so much cross-contamination with genetically modified corn these days. And then sugar can exacerbate the whole thing. If you're eating too much refined sugar, that can feed into the inflammation. So those would be some major things to cut out. And you could do an elimination diet to determine which of these foods are affecting you negatively.
So for the people watching now, I guess they could take those common culprits, eliminate them from the diet completely. So no grains, including corn, dramatically lower sugar intake, no dairy. How long should they eliminate them before they start slowly reintroducing them to see if that's what's causing gut inflammation?
Minimum of 2 weeks, but I highly suggest 30 days. Just to get all the inflammatory or problematic foods out of the diet. Actually, there's a program called the Whole30. That's a really great program. The guidelines are available for free online for anyone to follow as kind of like a basic elimination diet. So it's no grains, no sugar, no dairy, and no legumes. Legumes are also gut irritants to a lot of people. So beans, peas, peanuts.
Oh, wow. Okay, so eliminate all those foods. 2 weeks to 30 days, bring them in one at a time,
Yes.
Pay attention to the signs and symptoms.
Yes.
What should they be looking for?
any difference. It could be anything. It could be a skin issue. They could break out in acne. They could get a rash. They could get poor sleep. They might find that they're bloated when they reintroduce one of these foods. So they want to wait 3 to 5 days before reintroducing another one to see how that food is going to affect them and if it is going to have a negative effect. And it might require that they need to eat that food for a couple of days. For example, if eggs are one of the things that you might suspect is causing problems for you, you would cut it out of your diet for that initial period, reintroduce it, and then eat it for a day or two, and then wait another 3 or 4 days to see if you have a reaction.
Excellent. I can vouch for this myself. I've had clients who've had this particular approach with gut inflammation, done it for 30 days, and blown away by how much their waist shrank, by how much they were able to then, of course, activate those muscles of the midsection, whereas before we were just having the hardest time. So excellent information, Stefanie. Listen, we post a new video every single day, so subscribe to our channel. Also, mindpumpmedia.com. Go there, sign up, 30 days of coaching for free.